Why I love everyone. This is Josh from Riskers and Wrenches. Oh, out of the frame a little bit there. But this is my Ford Crown Victoria from 1999. Now, I love the absolute crap out of this car. This is actually my first vehicle. Now, it wasn't exactly my first vehicle. It was the first vehicle I ever titled in my name. Now, as a kid, I did have a 1992 Ford Bronco that was a night edition and a 1986 Trans Am. Now, sadly, both of those cars, whenever I moved from Washington State to here, they were not ready for the trip. I had to sell them. I bought them when I was about 14 or 15, and they never were ready for the road in any way, shape, or form. The Ford Bronco I bought, people had believed the frame was bent, the transmission was kind of sketchy on it, it needed a lot of work, it had been partially parted out. The Trans Am I bought out of a junkyard, never even heard that thing run. The Bronco I owned for about 2 or 3 years. The Trans Am I owned for about a year. The transmission was out of it, the interior was tore out of it. I did do a full interior swap from a 82 Berlinetta Camaro parts car that I bought for like $200-300. Made that interior look pretty darn good, but I never ever heard the motor run. It was locked up really solid.
These smalls.
There it is. So it's got about 12 volts. Oh, it just died. Oh, it's back.
Wait, it's back?
Yeah, it's back on now.
I did basically, basic troubleshooting trying to get it unlocked, but I never really could. And then, I had to move from Washington State to here in Iowa, so that thing obviously would not make the trip in any way, shape, or form, so I had to get rid of it. Same story with the Bronco. It ran and drove, but I was a kid. I didn't really know what I was doing. That thing needed a lot more work than kind of what I knew to do at the time. So that thing ended up getting sold. Moved down here. I bought this thing, then I moved down here. I bought this thing for $1,800. I'll show some pictures up here of the Facebook Marketplace listing. Now, he had it listed for about $2,000 if my memory is serving me correctly. I haven't looked at those Facebook Marketplace postings in a long time, but I know I've got them somewhere on some phone of mine. But I believe he was asking $2,000. I talked him down to $1,800 or $1,700. Then I couldn't find anybody to pick me up, so I said, hey, I'd give you $1,800 if you came and delivered it to me with a full tank of gas. And he said, that's all right, I'll come and do that. Delivered it to me, drove around the block once. I went, this is good to drive 2,000 miles. I trust this thing with my life. It had about 179,000 miles at the time, right around there, I believe. Again, if I'm getting these details wrong, forgive me. It has been about 5 years. I bought this thing beginning of 2020. I believe it was February or March I bought this thing. So it's been about 4.5, 5 years, so the details are a little bit fuzzy. But I do vaguely remember the story of me buying it, and then I 100% do remember me driving basically an unproven car that I bought for less than $2,000, 2,000 miles. This thing was a monster. I don't remember if it was Wednesday night or Thursday morning or something like that I bought it, but I remember I left Friday morning and I had it for about a day before then, and I got to Iowa for lunch, or it was a little bit closer to dinner time on Saturday. This thing was just a cannonball machine. Now, I know you guys are thinking there's no way he drove that far in a day and a half. I did. This was the beginning of COVID. Everything was shut down. All the roads were closed. There was no cops out there. I was hitting the pedal with this thing. I was at about $110, $120 on the speedometer, and this thing just cruised like no other car I've ever owned. I have owned about 38 vehicles in total when I count up what I've sold and what I own right now, and this is the most comfortable vehicle I have ever owned. Hard stop right there. But above 100, this thing even gets more comfortable. This thing just settles right to where it wants to be, and this thing just cruises beautifully. I love this thing to death. And that's why I'm telling you guys what I'm going to be doing to it. Now, I'm doing a lot to this thing. This thing's going to get, as I will show you, a 5-speed swap, maybe a supercharger later on down the line. Turbocharger maybe. It's going to get an exhaust to it. It's going to get hydraulic e-brake on the back with dual rear calipers. It's going to get a full Lincoln Town Car interior swap. It's going to get a 5-speed from an 03 Mach 1. Limited slipper end. Just a bunch of cool stuff we're going to be doing to this car. Because like I said, I love this thing. This is my first car. Now, I've got piles and piles of parts for this thing. I've got a whole table full of parts over there that you guys probably can't see, but you guys will see in a little bit. I've got a whole shelf over here of interior parts. I've got a couple doors way back there. Obviously, I've got all my motorcycles and everything like that. I've got wiring harnesses and everything on the top of this car, and we're going to go walk through, and I'm going to show you guys everything that I plan to do to this car and where all these parts fit into that equation. Now, I'm just going to take it from the front to the back here. I'm going to show you guys a few things I have done, just kind of brisk over them, and then I'll talk to you guys about what I do plan to do. Like, for instance, if I found something that came on the Mercury Grand Marquis, for example, but didn't come on the Crown Vic, and I really like the way it looks or operates, or I believe it's going to make this car pop out a little bit more from a crowd, I'm going to put it on this car, adapt it, and pop it on here. It is going to be a lot of work. Do not get me wrong. This thing has been sitting in here like for about 2 years while I just collect parts. Now I have basically all the parts I need, and we're just going to go front to back. I'm going to show you guys everything that I plan to do with this car here. Now, the first thing I did here was I did fit this push bar. This is not off of a Ford Crown Victoria. This is off of a Chevy Impala, I believe from 02 or 03. I bought this thing for 20 bucks. I popped it on here. I had to make my own little custom welded mounts like that. I paid 20 bucks for the bull bar, 20 bucks for the mounts from our local welding shop, and that was that. I had a push bar in the front of here. Now this thing doesn't look perfect. I know it's chewed up a little bit. It's hanging out a little bit farther than what I'd like from the car. It's that curve right there. It's supposed to be flush with the bumper, but for 40 bucks, I figured, you know what, this will at least make the car look a little bit better. I do love the way this thing looks with the push bar and the spotlight and everything on it. It just looks like an old school FBI car that you'd see in a cop flick, and I love that. Now that we're up in the engine here, I have done a few things here and there. This thing did not come with cruise control from the factory, so I put a cruise control module there. I believe 99 or 2000 was the last year you could actually get them without cruise control, and mine did not have it. It did already have all the wiring and everything. I just had to buy the actual module that controls your throttle from eBay, pop it on there, and we should be good to go. I switched over the motor cover. This is the one that I would have had on their factory. It just says 4.6 liter, you know, it's got little things like that. It's all black. This is the one from the Lincoln Town Car that I had. It has a little V8 icon there. All these are supposed to be like kind of chrome polished. They're just kind of like painted on there. I'm going to repaint them and make them look a little bit better, and I believe that'll kind of, you know, tie into the old school muscly cruiser vibe we got going on. Alrighty, looking back in the recording while I'm editing here, I didn't do a very good job of kind of explaining the history of the interior with this car. I kind of do a lot of dawdles and tangents and things like that aren't really going to make a lot of sense unless I tell you about the history of this car and the interior at least. First off, throughout this build, I'm going to be doing the interior in a kind of a weird style. I'm taking the best parts of each of the Panther body cars, i.e. the Ford Crown Victoria, the Mercury Grand Marquis, and the Lincoln Town Car. Interior-wise, I'm taking any cool parts I find in those cars and adapting them to fit in my car if they do not fit from the factory. Like there's a trunk pad and things like that you'll see in a little bit that just came on the Lincoln Town Car that didn't come on the Crown Vic, but I'm like, hey, that would be really nice to have in my Crown Vic, so I'm going to make it fit. But when I first purchased the car, this is what it looked like on the interior. It was very, very tired. It was denim blue. All the blue was a different shade. I mean, it was sun bleached. There was a chunk taken out of the wheel here. There was this, these seats were all worn out. I mean, there was questionable stains in them. This thing definitely saw some service. The back seat itself was actually from a different car. I'm guessing whenever this thing came out of service, this was a full black and white patrol car with a cage in the back. It had a vinyl seat that was pulled out whenever it came out of service. So the previous owner probably went to a junkyard and just threw this one in there just to have a seat in the back. A little bit later, I did buy some later model Crown Vic seats that were a little bit more comfortable. Granted, they were tan, so it didn't look right. But as you guys can see right here, they had bigger headrests. They were just a lot more comfortable, a lot better to live with. I purchased the back seat as well, just to at least have the seats match, even if they don't match the interior. After that, I found a wrecked Crown Victoria just down the road from me that had a full black interior, and I got the whole interior for 200 bucks, seats and all. So I switched it over. That Crown Vic was a pretty nice car, but it had been rolled and wrecked. Thankfully, the person who wrecked it walked away completely unscathed, so the car did its job, but it was totaled. But the interior went to great use in my car. As you guys can see here, it transformed it. No longer was it 15 different shades of blue. It was all black. Trim was all smooth. The seats matched. The carpet matched. Well, the lack of carpet, it turned to rubber floor. Matched. Had a center console. I had a dash, little heads-up system here that gave me a tack because mine did not have a tack on the dash from the factory. And as you guys can see here, I had the red overhead light. I had the whole headliner and everything from that parts car, and it still had the cop little light in here. So it just looked a lot better on the inside. But I thought, you know, I can make this even better. And I've seen some really, really cool Lincoln Town cars with interiors that look like this. Now, this is kind of a pipe dream of mine because it's been taking so long to do, but I have collected all the parts to really transform my car into this, and I believe this is just an absolute gorgeous interior. It gives me the vibe of like the mid to late 70s muscle car, you know, like a Dodge Charger, Mustang, all that stuff with a dark black leather and dark wood grain interior. I love it to death. Now, granted, there are a few things here and there that aren't going to work. Like, I'm not going to use this steering wheel. I'm going to use a different style. I'm not going to use this gauge cluster. It will not work with my current setup. But I am going to be using most, if not all, I can from this type of dash setup to move into my car. And we'll touch on that a little bit later here. Now, on top of the car, I got a bunch of different things. I've got some trunk trim, I've got some trunk carpet, various wiring harnesses, you know, ducting and everything like that to make all this conversion work. I kind of just, like I said, whenever I found a cool part, like this is a trunk card from a Lincoln Town Car. As you can see right there, it's got a little light and it's got a little cubby hole. The Crown Vic did not have this factory, so I took this off and I figured that'd be nice to have a little cubby hole, you know, to put jumper packs or toe straps or something in there. Same thing with the light. This thing has one light in the back and it's not very good, so having an extra light here and there would help for me to actually see things at night. Same thing with the carpet. This thing did not have carpet in the trunk area. I don't know if it got removed or just never was optioned with it or anything like that, but I figured, you know what, so I don't scratch up whatever I'm carrying in the back, I might as well put carpet back there. So I've got some trunk carpet. I've got some wiring harnesses, like I said, up there to make all this conversion work. The Lincoln Town Car is wired obviously a little bit different because it has, you know, the electric seats, has the heated seats, all that stuff that my Crown Vic never came with. So I've got like 3 or 4 wiring harnesses that I've got to make into one, so it's a whole wiring nightmare. Same thing with the ductwork. The Lincoln Town Car has differences here and there. Like the Crown Vic has floor vents for the rear. The Lincoln Town Car has them on the center console. It just kind of sprays out from the top, from that little armrest. I'll show a picture up of what I mean here. And the Crown Vic does not have that. It just has the rear vents underneath the driver and passenger seat. That's where, you know, the rear people get air and heat and everything like that. So I'm having to do a little bit of custom ductwork to make all this stuff work and actually function. Now from the front, as you guys see here, I've got these black door cards on here. They're just kind of tacked into place. This is what I've been running for the past couple of years when I did drive the car. Like I said, I used to have the black ones, and we had that rolled card that we ripped the parts off of. Now these are just basic. If your car was optioned with the electronic seats and everything like that, it'd have a little panel right here with all your switches and everything like that. This one didn't. It was all manual seats, which again is why I have all those wiring harnesses up here to make these fancy seats that I got from a 2011 Town Car work. These things are 8-way adjustable. They are heated. They're leather. They're really, really nice. But I've got to wire everything in here because my car had manual cloth seats, so there's none of the wiring that is needed to run these seats at all. Now, speaking of wiring, as you can see in here, I've got a little bit of a mess. I have the dash fully removed. I have the steering column itself loose. I have all the wires cut and everything like that. Now, sadly, on this generation of Crown Vic, all the wires that go into your dash, you know, the things that work, your lights, your gauges, your air conditioning, your radio, everything like that, this does not have a quick disconnect. Some of the later models down here on the firewall have a plug where you can unplug the whole dash and just pull it out. On this generation, they do not. Most of the wires you have to either go into the engine bay, unplug all the sensors, which is about 20 of them. There's about 35 to 40 wires right here. You have to unplug all those sensors and pull them out through that little hole in the firewall. I didn't want to do that. I nipped off all the wires and I'm making my own quick connect style. As you guys can see here, I've got some aftermarket connections right here. They plug into this thing and then I put the other end right here and then they'll just clip together. So that way, if I ever do need to remove my dash for any circumstance, i.e. heater core or anything like that, I can just unplug all these connections and I can pull the dash right out without having to cut any more wires. Now, moving to the back here, as you guys can see, I've got basic plastic, no wood trim, black door cards in the back, and these interior door latches don't even work. This thing was, like I said, a cop car. These things were all decommissioned, deactivated. The back switches for the windshield back here to roll it down, it doesn't work. I have to roll down the back windows from the driver's seat, but I do have... Now, back over there, you guys can see I'm not crawling the whole way over there because I've got a bunch of parts and everything like that. I'm zoomed in a little bit. But over there is the rear doors from a Crown Vic LX, which is the nice fancy civilian model. It does have the wood trim on that little panel right there. I'll show a picture up here of what I mean. Those will be re-dyed, repainted, everything like that, black to match the rest of the car, and then put into the back of the car whenever I'm ready for them. I do have those, which will bolt right in. I could not use the Lincoln Town Car rear door cards. Actually, on a Lincoln Town Car, the rear doors are longer to give more leg room back here, so they would not work. They would be too long for my application. So I found some from a Crown Vic that was an LX. It was a civilian model that had the wood trim right here. And it has carpet down here as well, as you guys saw. This will make this a little bit better. It'll tie in with the wood trim and everything like that from the front without making it look out of place. Well, now that we're at the back here, we've got the rear seat, which again came from a 2005 Lincoln Town Car. These are heated leather rear seats. The center console itself came from an 05, which I will show you guys in a second. But these things have the movable headrest, which was a 2010 and 2011 only option, I believe. So these things are pretty darn desirable. They're really, really comfy. I've sat in the back of these things a little bit, and they are super, super comfy. And again, they are heated, which is awesome. Now, coming to the center console, I took the factory one out, which didn't have the options I wanted. But this guy right here right where it used to be a tissue holder. Come on now, focus, you can do it, I believe in you. Right where there used to be a tissue holder, I have a bunch of wires now. Now, factory, these things have the heated seats. Like I said, they are wired directly into the passenger door. They have little switches here. Obviously, since I'm not using those style of door cards, I couldn't use that. So I'm wiring them right to the center console. I'm gonna have the switch for the passenger and the driver's side right here so that people can flip it on and off as they please. On top of that, this right here has the front passenger seat. You can move it forward all the way from back here so you can give yourself more legroom if there's nobody up front. On top of that, you have a little section right here, which has, I will show a picture up here, has radio controls, has climate controls, everything like that. You can control all that stuff from the back seat, which right there, as you can tell right there, that's where the climate controls come out from that center console. Like I said earlier, they'll blow right into your face. On the Crown Vic, like I said earlier, they come out factory down here. They do not come from the center console, so I have to do a little bit of custom duct work to make those work. But it will be nice to be able to control that. If they get a little bit cold or a little bit hot, they can adjust the climate controls and everything like that from the back. Or if I've got a bunch of friends on a trip and they need to tell me something and we're jamming out the music, they can turn down the music from back here and be like, hey, I need to tell you something, which is pretty darn nice. Again, I don't really plan to have a lot of people in the back of this car, but if I do, I want them to have the most luxurious time possible. Now, whenever it comes back to the trunk, I'm not doing much. Like I said, I showed you guys what I'm doing earlier with the carpet, with the little cubby holes, the lights, everything like that. So you guys kind of know what's going on there. Nothing much is going to change on the back end of this car. Now up underneath on the rear end, I have all the brakes and everything disassembled. I have the axle shafts out of it. I will show you guys here. Now these are the actual brackets that hold your brakes to your rear end. It's got 4 bolt holes. These bolt right to your rear end, and then they hold your brakes into place. Now I'm gonna split these guys right down the middle. And I'm gonna put another one on this side, and that'll give me dual rear brakes in the back, which then I can plumb up to a hydraulic e-brake. Now, I plan on limited slip swapping this thing. I have a center section that is brand new. It has new clutches and everything like that. And I'm doing dual rear brakes on the back here. Now, apologies for the mess. This is kind of my amalgamation of parts and everything like that. Whenever I buy a part for the car, it kind of gets tossed on this table or over here in the corner. I've got a bunch of front doors for Crown Vics and town cars and everything like that to pull the wiring out of, any brackets I need, anything like that. So I've got all those over there. This is the dash that's going to go into the car. This is the dash that came out of that tan town car, but as you guys can see here, I've had it re-dyed and painted in black. I painted all the framework and everything like that that was rusting a little bit, cleaned it all up. It is ready to go into that car whenever I get all the electrics and everything like that figured out. Now back here is the center section that I was talking about. It's got brand new clutches in it. It's got a new spring in there. It was completely rebuilt. I bought it from a gentleman who was going to use it on a Mustang he had, and then wrecked the Mustang, so it just sat with a plastic bag over it, never was used, so I bought it for him for pretty cheap. I've got the diff cover. I've got an aftermarket style diff cover with cooling vents and everything like that to keep the fluid cool back there. I've got a new gasket for it. I have a drive shaft spacer, which you have to use whenever you manual swap it, which is what I've got over there. That is a TR3650 from an 03 Mach 1. It is a 5-speed for a 4.6 liter V8, which will bolt right into my car. I'll have to hack a hole in the floor to make the shifter come through, but other than that, this will be a direct bolt-on for my application. Now, I've got clutch pedals, accelerator pedals, and everything like that from another 03 Mach 1. You do have to obviously, put a clutch pedal in whenever you're manual swapping, and a little bit of a skinnier brake pedal too. I'm doing that just to make my life a little bit easier. I've got some duct work up here. Obviously I have to do custom work and things like that. I've got a clutch back over there. Well, I actually have a brand new clutch in the box right there. I have a flywheel over there to make everything work. Now over there, I have a little roll control module, which is what they're called. I call them line lock. It is a module where if I flip a switch, it will lock brake pressure off to the rear wheels, and it will keep it just to the front wheels so I can do better burnouts. Now I have a tuner right there, which will tune out the factory automatic power cutoff for whenever the automatic transmission needs to shift. Whenever the automatic transmission shifts, your engine automatically cuts power, shifts, and then puts it back on in like a split second. You have to tune that out whenever you have a manual, obviously, because you don't want power cutting randomly. I've got a dash cam for it. I've got some paint correction tools. I've got a quick shifter for that transmission. I've got a bunch of stickers. This is just an amalgamation of parts back here. You guys obviously will get an in-depth install guide whenever I do that. Now, as you guys can see, I have my work cut out for me on this build. I'm doing a full interior swap, seat swap, having to wire in all that stuff. Doing a hydraulic e-brake conversion on the back. I'm doing performance parts. I'm doing a whole lot to this car, but you guys are gonna see all of it here on this channel. Now, right now, I'm kind of in wiring jail with it. That's kind of been my biggest holdup. I have been, like I said, collecting parts over the past 2 years, but I have also been slowly working on the wiring. I am not a wiring guru at all. I'm more of a mechanic myself. I like transmission swapping. I like rear brakes. I like rebuilding engines and everything like that. Wiring is where it kind of gets. Now I'm probably gonna have to call in some help from a few of my buddies who are a little bit more inclined whenever it comes to wiring than I am, because I know the basics, like, oh, you know, if you're not getting power, you look for a thing, but doing all this custom work is way out of my league. So I'm gonna be learning along with you guys as we go through it. I'm gonna have to call up a few of my buddies and be like, hey, what the hell am I doing here? I don't know what's happening. I thought I had it right, but it's not working at all. So can you guys help me out a little bit here? But everything we do to it is gonna be here on this channel. Now, like I said, this is Josh from Riskers Wrenches. This is my 1999 Ford Crown Victoria P71 that we're going to be doing a 5-speed swap, a hydraulic e-brake swap on, maybe a supercharger or turbocharger on, a full Lincoln Town Car interior swap, and much, much more here on the channel. I hope to see you guys through every single one of the videos. Like, subscribe. Now, if you guys do like this, let me know down in the comments. Let me know what you guys want to see first. If you guys want to see me doing the suspension first, or the rear end first, the transmission swap first, or the knocking out all the glorious wiring first and getting that just out of the way so the rest of it can kind of go smoothly and it's kind of plug and play. Let me know down in the comments what you guys want to see first, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace out. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh. Dreams are made of these. Give them a tune-up. Look at that.
Yummers.